Okay, looking at the open invoice report, we have this first one. It says minus $80. Give you a couple little hints. First of all, and I'll have little tricks. If you double click the payment, we'll see that the total payment was for $1,875.83, and that's what caused it to be an overpayment of $80. Now, if you want to look at anything more in detail in QuickBooks, if you're in the payment screen, if you use Control H, which stands for history, it will pop up a box, and you can pop this box up in many areas in QuickBooks, the invoices, deposits, those type of things. You can actually pop them up and look at details. In this case, we've got an invoice listed, and it has, of course, a balance. And we can go to that. We can actually go directly to the invoice quicker and see what it says. Now, a couple of things that I said earlier is we're going to always start in the management system first, which we are, but I just wanted to show you some things. So let's go ahead and let's toggle over to the management system. And in this situation, in these videos, we're going to be using CCCone. It's a very common management system, and it's one that is very similar to do the same processes in other management systems. CCC does have some features that some of the management systems don't have, but this will still be a good idea to take a look at what we're doing here. So that repair order number was 13590. I had already checked for it. And normally I would not even be going here initially. I would actually be using the section over here to the left where it says accounting. And in this thing, I can look at the accounts receivable and I can determine whether or not 13590, which in this case it's not even enlisted in here, which means it's telling me that CCC does not have a balance for this, that it is zero. But I still have to figure out what's happened here. So let's go back to the work files. Let's open this up and let's take a look at the work file itself. You know, just to verify, you go to receipts and you'll see that they're both at zero. But one thing that you always want to check initially is this says repair order total 11,610. Now if we tab back over to QuickBooks, what you're going to notice is the total is only 11,520.10. And this is important to note because many clients don't realize that sales tax does not come over from QuickBooks. And sales tax does not come into QuickBooks from a management system. Only the subtotal sale comes into QuickBooks, and then QuickBooks, if you have your sales tax set up correctly, does the calculation on the sales tax. Now, one issue that you run into, and we'll see some of those in the future, is that there'll be a rounding difference between how a management system determines sales tax versus how QuickBooks does. That is especially true if there is a sales tax rate that is a fraction, like 0.75 or something like that. That seems to happen more often. Usually there's a couple of cents fore or aft that will vary, and that is because the method in which sales tax is calculated by a management system and the way that Intuit does it in QuickBooks are different. Now, the differences is the way they round things off, and it becomes a slightly different sales tax. But in this case, you can see that the total sale in QuickBooks, including sales tax, was supposed to be 11,520.10, but in CCC, it clearly shows that it was 11,600. So we got $80 more in QuickBooks than we should, which is telling me that it is a sales tax issue, most likely. Now, one thing that we can do is also go up here, and it's a good feature in CCC1, under View Accounting Activity. This shows you the transactions that were created and were coming over to QuickBooks. And if we go down here to the vendor invoice, you will see that the invoice was sent over at 11,610 as well. But in QuickBooks, it's 520 because, again, even though the total was 11,600, it only sent over the subtotal before tax. So it's telling me that pretty much that the issue here is something to do with sales tax. So let's go back to the rates. So the first thing that I would do, go to the sales tax rates and see what the sales tax rate says. Well, this says 8.75. And if we go over to QuickBooks, this says 8.0. So what we have here is we have a difference. You collected 0.75 more of sales tax than you did. So in reality, what is the best way to fix this? Well, this is the wrong rate, number one. And it should have never got all the way through here at 8.75. It should have been corrected. And the same is true the other way around. If for some reason the rate was set lower than it should have been, there would have been a balance due in QuickBooks. And that's a way to tell you whether or not your sales tax rates are correct or incorrect. Now, in this case, the subtotal portion is the same. It's just the rate and tax. So there's a couple of ways you can fix this. Basically, you got $80 more than what you should have. Your sales tax liability is still only $853.34 because it's based on the rate that you owe. Now, there's a couple of things that you can do here. We could actually use a memorized transaction that we have set up for overpayments that you're going to keep. And that is only used in QuickBooks directly if CCC is still at 0. Now, if CCC had shown a negative $80, means it was overpaid by $80, we would use a process built into CCC to correct it. But in this case, it is just a difference in the sales tax. So we very often will either add an item in QuickBooks that will let the total sale match what CCC thinks, and then it will just go over to other miscellaneous income. In this case, I'm going to show you the way that we would typically do it directly into QuickBooks all by itself. We get back to the open invoice report. You want to memorize or write down 13590 and the amount of $80. Now, under memorized transactions, we have several different types of adjustments that are made. If you were to look at these adjustments, you would find that there isn't one here for overpayment keep. So let's go ahead and add one. So let's go ahead and get one, and I'm going to use one of these existing ones as a template for it. But this is going to be overpay keep. Just put a K there. And what we're going to do is it's going to be the receivables. Then we're going to put the customer goodwill. So we're going to put this in as other income. Now the question is which direction does this have to go? Well, this is going to be a positive number, and normally I set this up with that information on there. So we're $80, and we make sure that we put in the job number, and then the next one's going to be a negative $80, and put the job number in there again. And finally, we put the job number in here too. Okay, so now what we have here is we have a transaction. This is called a $0 check. It is going to the adjustment account. We've got the RO number 13590. We've got it marked as overpayment keep. This should just say overpayment. Keep. The business receivable will be a positive number at $80, and we're going to put this as overpayment keep too. And I'm going to change the second line to the same. And we have a positive and a negative, and the RO number listed here on both lines. Now, this is $0, so in your adjustment account, I usually use the adjustment account for this because it doesn't clog up your general operating fund account or your regular checking account. Now, I'm going to go ahead and memorize this because what I want to do is I want to make this one available the next time we need it. Okay, we're not going to add it to reminder. We're just going to leave it there. So now we have this. Now, dating it wise, usually it's best to date it close to the payment date. Now, if we are cleaning this out, we're doing this every month at the end, then we're not going to have a large difference in dates like we have now. But here in this case, we have one back in March. So I'm going to date this March 19th. So I'm going to put this March 19th, 031920. And I'm going to save and close. Now when I go over here, you'll see that we have a payment at $80 and we have a check at $80. And again, as I said in the introduction, as long as I've got a payment or an invoice, it's easy to do this. So I just double click the payment, put the checkbox there, and save and close. And that transaction will be done. It's completely connected. It has been applied and is no longer on the open invoice report.